Hi, it's Bruce. September 8th, 24-hour day reading. Some notes I made. Today's a really, it's got lots of God in it. So, I don't know, I'm not always comfortable talking so much about God because it reminds me of things I didn't like about growing up Catholic and going to church and preachiness and stuff like that, but I'm gonna just go with it and talk about it. So Thursday, September 8th, this is 2022, but for the grace of God is the little motto that the reading talks about today. I'm humble about my achievements in recovery. Okay, after all, to the world, it seems all I've done is to stop hurting myself, essentially, right? I mean, it's a lot more than that. Recovery from addiction, it's a lot more than just stopping drinking, right? But from the outside, it kind of looks like, why do people make such a big deal about being sober? Because all they're doing essentially is just not doing something silly, right? It looks like that, but there's a lot more to it, right? It's not like at the end of my using that I really had a choice, didn't have a choice about what I was putting in my body or whatever. So I want to be humble about any achievements in recovery. After all, to the world, it seems all I've done is stop hurting myself. I accept, that I need a spiritual solution for addiction, because I've tried other ways, and they do not work for me. I've tried stopping, I've tried moderating, I've tried, all the typical things people try themselves alone, but I found I had to reach out and ask other people for help. And then what they told me was that you need a spiritual solution. So I give up the credit for my recovery to a power greater than myself. Whether that's the fellowship, the 12-step fellowship, or the group, or a higher power. I basically group all those things together and I call them God. And I don't take credit for anything other than just showing up to those things. When I see another suffering addict in active addiction, I say, but for the grace of God, there go I. That helps me to remember where I was at, which is really important, where I was at, where my family was at when I was in active addiction. There's a lot of, obviously a lot of negative things, a lot of pain, a lot of, there was some fun times, there was some enjoyable times, there was some euphoria, and no kidding, right? But the net sort of benefit, or there was no net benefit, it was pretty negative. I remember that, but for the grace of God, there go I. So I had God's grace. I remember how it was. I remember those that I left behind, those people that are still using to this day, those people that have lost their lives, those people that have, worse than that have suffered, brain damage, or suffered physical injury, or suffered incarceration, suffered losses in so many ways. I am so grateful and thankful and appreciative for the grace and mercy of God, which has given me another chance, right? So that's kind of what the reading was about. Then the meditation is around the consciousness of God's love and how that makes my life different. If I'm conscious of God's love, it opens my whole being to God, right? Because I have this gratitude, this thankfulness, this appreciation for the grace and love of God. And it's hard to talk about this because, I just had a discussion with another person about how do you really know, right? I mean, belief in God, it's such a mystery, right? It's like you say, well, am I faking it? Am I pretending? that this, the Sky Fairy exists, and or do I have concrete examples, And of course, in the moment, I think it's good to just look at this stuff in the moment and say, okay, well, what do I see today? What do I feel right now? And it is a very feeling-based kind of thing, I guess, experience. But then there is also the real, the proof is in the pudding. The fact that I'm alive today, that I'm here, that I've come through various scrapes and made it. Kind of makes me conscious of God's love. People that I have in my life, my wife, my family, the folks that are really close to me, and then other wonderful folks that I meet. All this points to me, to the existence of God, and then I bring that into my consciousness. It opens my being to God. It brings wonderful relief from the cares and worries of my daily life. These cares and worries that I may otherwise have used over in the past, right? Like the stresses of life. And again, my life is pretty great. I live in the Western world, probably the top 3% of the world population in terms of standard of living. There's nothing that I don't have at my beck and call, pretty much. Got a great life, but I do make problems for myself. I do invent the cares and worries that I may otherwise use over, okay? So I get relief from those through the love of God. This relief in turn brings peace, and peace brings contentment. And today I walk in God's love. I have that peace which passes all understanding, and a contentment that no one can take from me. I can be content today. I can give away that contentment, but no one can take it from me. And I do give it away quite often. But I'm a work in progress here. I feel sure of God's unfailing love and care for me and all his children, right? Anyone who calls themselves a child of God has the benefit of God's love. And then I was thinking, okay, what is God to me? And then I wrote down, a few things. God is my father, my mother, my boss, my manager, my agent, my broker, my leader, my friend, my mentor. God holds space for me in a refuge from the trials that I create in my life. So yeah, that's really what it's all about. I'm held safe in God's loving care, and that gives me freedom and serenity as I walk today in God's love. My prayer for the day is I pray that today I may walk with God's love shining on me. I pray that I may feel God's power, joy, and love in my heart. And that is it. Thank you.